Hello everybody, this is Dr. Frank Gomez here on churchtalkradio.com. It's Tuesday once again. Today we're going to talk a little bit about weight loss. Actually, it's going to be part one of 6 parts because weight loss takes up so much time, and then there's so many different parts of it. You know, there's the eating, and then there's the training, and there's the sleeping, and what kinds of foods to eat, and all that kind of stuff. So I broke down into 6 different things that we're going to be talking about today, over the next 6 weeks anyways. So today's kind of going to be like a general overview of what's to come and how to handle this thing. So let's start with one of the things that we've all heard. People tell you, you are what you eat. That's basically true. You are what you eat. But I like to go a little further, because most of the time when we're home is when we do most of our not really good eating. So you're kind of like you are what you buy. So when you're at nighttime, that's when most of the snacking goes on, you're watching TV or whatever. If you don't have it in the house, you're not going to eat it, right? Because 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night, and most of the time you're not going to run out to the store, unless, of course, in my case, when my wife was pregnant, it didn't matter what time it was. I'm running out to the store and getting her whatever she needed at that time. Like a big crux for me, even when I was training on a national level and bodybuilding and powerlifting, the biggest, like a kryptonite for me was ice cream. All right, so if I didn't have it in the house, obviously I couldn't eat it, and I wouldn't go out and get it. So that applies to a lot of the things that we eat. So if it's not in the house, right, you're not going to eat it. Right? And if you have little kids, if you don't buy those Oreos and you don't buy soda, you're not going to eat those. The best thing to do is have some healthier foods, make some healthier choices, and that'll be a great thing to teach the kids, especially as they're growing. So let's start from the beginning here, as far as calories. Calories are energy, and calories are in anything that you eat. The macronutrients and calories that we have, which use for energy, is carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Right, those are the 3 basics, and most people know what they are. So what happens is carbohydrates. But getting back to hi Facebook Live, I'm back again. Getting back to the carbohydrates, which are the energy storages and what your body uses the most for quick energy, right? So carbohydrates are basically for burning rapid fuel. If you need something, if you got to run, flight or flight, that kind of thing, your body's going to use the calories from carbohydrates, because those are turned into glycogen, which is stored in the liver and the muscles. And then once those glycogen storages are used up, then it turns to something else. But if you think about, losing weight, everybody says, you got to cut your carbohydrates. Yeah, and that's true. You do have to cut them to a point. But, 0 carb, can store it later on in the gas tank and use it later on. But, with carbohydrates, when they're stored, they're stored in the liver as glycogen. And then when it gets overflowed and our body starts to store those carbohydrates, they store them in the fat cells. Now, as much as we think that we have evolved from cavemen and cavewomen, our bodies have an unlimited amount of storage space for carbohydrates, because the body's never going to know. Again, if this is a caveman time, you never know when you're going to get any more. So it has it. These kids they get these Slurpees that are like the size of their heads, and all the sugar. And sugar is again turned into all carbohydrates that are turned into glycogen. And if there's too much sugar, other than the health issues, it turns to fat. So speaking of fats, there are fats that are important too. There are good fats that our bodies actually need Fats are important to produce hormones, to transfer things around our bodies. They're also, good needed for repairs and other things like that in our bodies that we need to and produce. Even part of the fats that we have produce enzymes that our bodies use every day in chemical reactions. So you can get some good fats from olive oil, coconut oil, avocado, nuts and beans and things like that, which are important, and certain meats. That's if you can actually eat meats. Sometimes if you may have high iron loads in your body and you can't eat the meats. And the only way to tell if you have high iron loads is if you actually tested, which is something that we do in my office. We do comprehensive blood testing, and we find out exactly where your body sits, what you're deficient in, and what we need to change and what we need to increase as far as supplementation, diet, and whatnot. And we're going to be talking down the road, about eating clean and what that's all about too. But so then we have proteins, right? Proteins are important to build muscle. Everybody knows that. Especially if you're in the gym, if you're running, and any kind of exercise that you do, everybody tells you got to eat a lot of protein. You got to eat protein to repair the muscle cells, to repair the cell membranes, and again, it makes enzymes. And there are a lot of different kinds of protein. The best type of proteins really right now are the plant-based proteins. Things from that you can just eat every day. Dark leafy green vegetables. They have carbohydrates and fats, but some of them are high in proteins. It all depends on what you're looking to get, and you can read those things. And one of the good things about proteins is proteins are mistakes down to a minimal, and we make enough of those as it is, so we don't need any extra help by cutting out all the carbohydrates in our bodies. So you can consume proteins from animals, anything, any kind of chicken, poultry, fish. You can get them from eggs, as and again, red meat. Red meat, unfortunately, is something that we shouldn't really be eating a lot of. A lot of people that come in my office in the beginning, they eat like red meat 3, 4, 5 times a week, and not only does that can play havoc on your gut and your digestive system, it slows down a lot of the chemical reactions in our bodies, and it actually can cause constipation. It can cause you to become even a little dehydrated because of the amount of energy that it's required to break down red meat in our body. Even if it is good red meat, grass-fed organic meats are the best meats that to eat, but once or twice a week is plenty. And the reason being, again, why the grass-fed and organic meats, if you can buy them, which more and more places, you can actually go. I know Costco has them. Walmart's starting to get into the organic field because, not only is it good for people, they see an opportunity, to cash in on it. The great American way. We need to make money, so. You just got to be careful on what you pick, but fats and proteins can be like wood, right? You can burn it for energy, and heat, and you can build a house with it, and you can build muscle, and you can build tissues, and build whatever your body needs, or you can grind it up and use it as paper, which would kind of represents the enzymes that your bodies use when you're doing chemical reactions in our bodies, and we need to need the chemical reactions to live out, obviously. So, all right. So let's go back into the fats, another reason why the fats are important. You might have heard ketones, and then fats have 9 calories per gram, and that's where fats, originally got a bad name because there's so many calories in it, But we actually need these calories from fats, from good fats, because our body will use them. And if you can't, and once they're broken down into ketones and our body starts using them, especially our heart Our heart and our brain will suck up ketones wherever they have them, because again, fats are for long-term energy reserves. And since our heart and our brain and other functionings in our body are long-term, it's not like you're running a sprint and then you don't need it anymore, right? So the body breaks those ketones down, and then if they can't store, your body won't store ketones, because once they're all broken, carbohydrates, because they taste good. Beans are a great source of carbohydrates. They're a great source of fats. They're a great source of proteins. But you got to read the labels, because sometimes a lot of the beans that we eat these days have, again, a lot of carbohydrates due to the amount of sugar that they actually add into it. So just got to be careful. And there's so many refined foods. Anything that comes from a can and comes from a box is usually not that great, because it's been refined, which means it's gone through some kind of a process so it doesn't break down and lasts for a long time. It's funny, I was reading something about a McDonald's hamburger, and they were just talking about the patty itself. 40% to 50% of your diet, proteins around 35%, and fats around 10%, something in that range, because again, the carbohydrates are going to burn really fast, and then once those are gone, or again, they're going to be from good food, right? Fruits and vegetables. So once they've been used up, then the body will start to break down the fats. And you can actually even back off a little bit more from the carbohydrates, maybe even go down to as low as 20%, and increase the fats and proteins in your bodies, and that will help you start to get some of the weight off. So if we're just talking straight up weight, that's a good way to do it. And exercise is also important. We're going to do a little talking about exercising, and I've been doing that since I was a teenager, so I have a lot of experience with that, and there's a lot of different ways, as far as that goes. The cardio, how long should I do my cardio for? How long, should I stretch? Should I not stretch? Should I do aerobic training? Should I do flexibility training? Should I do strength training? Try to get a little bit of everything in there is really complicated. So, we're going to try to break this down over the next few weeks and try to make it a little bit easier for you to understand. So again, trying to watch your counting calories is very difficult. It's and then it's tedious, and then after a while you just kind of like, all right, I had enough of this, I'm just going to eat whatever, and then you start to go down again, and then you're looking for something else to eat. Now, another bad thing about overloading with carbohydrates and refined foods is all the sugars, right? Because that can cause us to break down and eventually have diabetes, and that's a whole nother thing. But also cancer cells. We talked about this a little bit last week. Cancer cells in our bodies, once they get in there and they start reproducing, they can't make their own energy. Right? Our cells, our human cells, or animal cells, make their own energy from these little powerhouses called mitochondria. They produce ATP, and that's all broken down, and we get energy from that, and helps produce the glycogen cycles, and that gets a little complicated, but that's basically it. Cancer cells need the sugars from the outside, so you got to take those sugars in. If you have any questions about anything, the people on the Facebook here, you can leave your comments below, and I will get back to you on anything that you have. So again, another reason why to keep carbohydrates a little bit on the low side is to keep those sugars down, so we don't have too much sugar in our body, so cancer cells can't really live there. Too much sugar in our bodies also cause our body's pH levels to change. pH, if you remember from chemistry, a low number from 7 and down is acidic, and from 7 up is alkaline. Our bodies need to be around 7.3-ish. More alkaline than acidic. Most people that come in the office when we check them are very acidic, like 4 or 5. And when that happens, our body starts to lose 10 pounds in 3 days, or lose 30 pounds, and lose a pound a day. Listen. It takes a while to get yourself out of shape for whatever reason. Maybe you're sick or you got something going on. It takes a while to get there. You can't get it overnight. And you got to learn how to eat. It's a lifestyle change. There's a lot of good programs out there for the short term, maybe to get you started, but you have to learn how to eat. If you don't know how to eat, you'll never keep the weight off, and you'll get frustrated with the whole thing. Two, I don't think that's how we're supposed to look. We're supposed to have some meat on the bones, supposed to have some fat on the bones, for long-term usages and to stay well. This way, our body can draw from it. All right, so I only got a few minutes left. So basically, what did we discuss today? We talked about carbohydrates, right? Keeping them between 20 and 40% of your diet, staying away from the processed foods. Talk about proteins and fats, how they can be interchangeable if we need. Keep the fats around. This is Dr. Frank Gomez, Total Health Wellness Center in Sayville. Again, I'll see you next week. I hope this was helpful. Again, leave your comments below. Thank you. A little hot, not too bad. Last time I was here, man, it was really hot.
Yeah, I'll bring the AC in eventually.
But I always forget in the beginning to leave phone numbers and tell them where I'm at, and also then I gotta jam it in there at the end of the. I'm gonna leave that other thing here.
Okay.
You guys can use it.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. No problem.
I gotta let Cheryl know that next week. I guess she wanted to know about that.